Trevor, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going good, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on the Real Estate Homies podcast. We are on episode 9. So starting to flow, almost double digits.
Yeah, I love it. I got to be one of the first 10. I'm honored.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you, man. It's been fun to follow you on Instagram, and so I think that you're gonna drop a lot of good perspective here and on finance, on real estate, and then also on marketing. So that's really what my goal is to kind of chat with you about today.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So if you could just start off with like a little bit of background on yourself, and what you do and how you contribute to the real estate industry.
Yeah, so I'm a mortgage lender, loan officer here in Reno, Nevada. Been doing this for about 5, 6 years now. Prior to that, I was in college, studied marketing, economics, but I was also doing a lot of video stuff through college, like shooting weddings, YouTube videos, stuff to just kind of get some side income through college. So when I got into lending, that became kind of a big pillar of my marketing through video and through social media. So that's something that I've kind of doubled down on the last few years. And yeah, that's kind of the where I'm
Yeah,
at.
that's crazy. That's almost similar path as me. I used to do music back in the day, so picked up a lot of just natural audio engineering, video and whatnot through that. But uh, you did that as well in college. So I took the same route, studied marketing in college, did the video productions, the
Yeah.
audio, all that through there. And then somehow we found ourselves here in this real estate industry, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of funny how it works out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. So I mean, what was the background on that? Like, how did you get into video production? Was that just the thought you wanted to do going into college, or was it something you did prior? Or?
Yeah. So it kind of started in high school. It was my brother was a really good football player. So he's getting a lot of recruiting for colleges. So I was actually making like his highlight reels back in high school because it was kind of hard to find someone to do that. And that was kind of where like the passion was ignited in shooting stuff. So then I bought a camera, started doing a lot of it for fun. And then in college, something I got a lot of enjoyment and still get a lot of enjoyment out of. Something that I just really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. That's super cool because that's where it's really helped me is I'm very creative in that sense of like liking to produce content and things like that. But so it was a little challenging for me myself to jump into a different industry because I knew I wanted to be creative.
Yeah.
And I actually went away from the creativity for some time. Did you kind of find that similar?
100%, yeah. I mean, dude, you can't get less creative than doing mortgages for a living, man. I just stare at numbers and spreadsheets all day, and like, it's been super fulfilling to see those 2 worlds collide because it is kind of hard. I mean, you know how it is when you're a creative person and you feel like you're kind of in a world where you can't let that, you don't have that creative outlet. It's cool that we've been able to develop that and still be able to do this business and have it actually be a huge growth, and sales component to this business.
Yeah,
But
that's what's super wild. So how did you go from college into
y
lending?
yeah, so I think the same as everyone, you just kind of fall backwards into it and all of a sudden you're there, but I was in casino gaming actually, and then, sold a company that I had started in that space and met a guy on a plane who owned a title company and then kind of, looked at going the title route and then just kind of, yeah, just one turn after the next ended up in lending, and
Wait,
then
we gotta unravel a little bit. You said you did good casino gaming. What's this?
Yeah, so I had a business and so I was doing sales for a company in casino gaming, so selling slot machines, parts for slot machines, stuff like that. And then a buddy and myself started a company selling to casinos, like a component that goes on their slot machines. And then after we sold that business, I was just skiing every day, and met a dude on a plane on my way to a bachelor party. And yeah, it was just a really interesting turn of events that led to this.
Well, okay, we're gonna unravel more on this the casino thing. So you built a business on selling casino parts?
Yeah, so basically, it was we were selling parts for slot machines, and what we came up with was, like the screen protectors that go on your phone, just
Yeah.
the. So we made those for slot machines because a lot of these slot machines now are touchscreen. They're all touch screens, and to replace those touch screens is a really expensive part. So we just started making these screen protectors, and no one had done it, and it was yeah.
How did you find a buyer for that? So how, because a lot of people can build businesses, but they
Mhm.
can't find the exit, they can't sell it. So how did you end up finding your buyer for your
Yeah.
casino screen protector. Like that's
So it was
crazy.
actually the guy who owned the company that we were working for at the start. So we were selling
Mm.
parts and components to different casinos, and then once we started selling that, um, yeah, it was just kind of a natural progression for him and for us, and it just worked out.
Nice. So then you
Yeah,
exit, you start, kind of just living a little bit, skiing, hanging
yeah,
out, doing all that, and then
yeah.
you go on a airplane and you go on a bachelor party and you meet a guy that does lending.
So he owned a title company in town.
Okay, title. Okay, okay.
Yeah, and it's such a weird story because it was so I met him on the plane and talked to him. At that time is when we had just started this company. And so I was telling him about the company we had started because he owned a business where I was talking just, business owner to business owner. And then it was actually like months after I saw him again at some event and was catching up with him. And oh yeah, we met on the plane talking. And then that's when I told him, he's like, how's the screen protector business? I was like, oh, he actually just got out of it. So if you know anyone hiring, like halfway joking, and he was like, "Dude, I'll take you." So then that conversation started with him, and then, yeah, super bizarre. He ended up selling his title company to go into lending. So he's like, "Dude, this is where I think we should go. You got a place wherever I go."
So you actually went into title before lending.
So I never even started in title. So the conversation started with him on like, let's see if this would be a fit. Literally very casual. Like we went and grabbed drinks and just like, what is title? I don't even know what this is. At that point, like had no experience in this industry. Um, so he had kind of just given me the rundown of like, this is what you would do at our company, blah blah blah. This is what your comp looks like. And then it was like 2 weeks later, he's decided to sell his company as well. Um, and then he's like, "I wanna go into lending, and I think you would kill it. So if you wanna go with me, you've got a place."
So that's how it all started right there, just
Yep.
like that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And so what have you learned since then, dude? It's probably been
Gosh. Yeah, it's been crazy because, like, coming into this, I didn't know much about lending. I didn't know, I bought my first house, like, right around the same time I got into the business. So right when I was getting into it, like, I was very, unfamiliar with what this whole process looked like. So yeah, I've learned a ton about the business and the industry. Luckily, like I studied economics. I've always loved investing. I've loved personal finance. So this was like a really good fit for me. So I've learned a ton about the industry, and then also just the sales and marketing side of like how we get business, what we can do to get more business, and then having that background in video was something that I didn't get to exercise a lot at the start. And then I joined Neil. So Neil's actually 2 doors down from me. We're in the same office.
Oh, no way.
Yep, and that's what kind of, jump started this whole, kind of, social media growing and where we're at today.
Yeah, kinda it got your creative mode back on, huh?
Yeah, so I was trying to do it at my previous company, but it's hard because it is, just creating content and putting it out is a really tough thing to do because you don't get to see people nodding, there's no face to face, there's no, like, interaction when you're doing it. So you make these videos and you're kind of like, are these being received well? Are these worth it? Are they not? So it's really easy to talk yourself out of doing this. So I had created
Mhm.
a couple videos when I was at my last company because I knew this is like a wide open kind of gap in our market because no one's doing it locally. And then I just didn't sustain it. So being with Neil, we've created such a cool environment like in our office to be able to do this. I mean, every day, every week, and just continue to do it. And yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, that because that's the major part of it's the consistency. So at
Mhm.
your other company, you were able to put out a couple, but you didn't was everybody in the office may have not been as like see the value in the content creation process. So if not everybody's bought in, it can make it challenging as a company to see it. So yet way it's like, hey, here's what I'm doing with my time.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, man, that's awesome. Neil crushes it, and I love like the uh just the whole process he's built, like with the content days and everything like that. I mean, it's really created a streamlined way to batch out content and publish it. Is that something you kind of stick to as well when you're putting out this content?
Yeah, it's a little it comes in waves because obviously the day job and what pays the bills is doing loans, right? So it's like we get these these massive influx of deals and problems, and we have to continue to close these, and so it gets hard to set aside time to keep doing the content. Um, so it's like it's this machine, but it also like we have to do it when we can. So there's times where I'm able to sit down and bust out a bunch of videos, and then there's times where I just gotta shoot it, edit it, and put it up same day just to make sure I'm staying on top of it.
Yep. Yeah, so and that's the hard part, right? Is that you're you're still having to run a business on top of it, which
Yep.
it is part of the business, and it's a
Yeah.
big value to it. I mean, you've been able to build a following of like 45,000 people on Instagram, so like kudos
Yep.
to you because that's takes a lot of work to and consistency to be able to put that value out there to
Yeah.
then get that followers up. So I can only imagine that you're putting in a ton of hours to make all this possible.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too because it's this self-feeding cycle of like the more time I dedicate to social, the more deals that come in, which require more time, which then I need to go back to social. So it's just like the more you do, the more you get, but that makes it hard to continue. Um,
Yes.
but I mean, a good problem to have nonetheless.
Yeah, I think that at that point in business is probably where like delegations got to become that major strength
Yep.
and building the right team underneath you to be able to handle that because obviously people are resonating well with your content. So it is important that you are producing content consistently.
Hmm.
So that's got to be a hurdle you're probably heading into is how do I
Yeah.
delegate some of this out while still being able to sell and keep that same service and everything, all the
Yeah.
way through.
Yeah, man, you hit it on the head. That's kind of been the goal for the last years, making sure we have the processes in place and the people in place to make sure that we can sustain this and still deliver a really high quality level of service. Because that's something that I take a ton of pride on is the customer experience when I get someone in. We don't want to just kind of put them in an assembly line and force them through. So I want to make sure that stuff's getting done and they still get the attention they need. So the team's been a huge focus of mine for the last year.
So how do you maintain that? Because I think a lot of people probably think you're a superpower, like have some superpowers to be able to put out the content you are while still knowing that the ultimate priority is customer experience. So what are some things you do to make sure that that is still in check and not even in check, but top priority?
Yeah, so I actually use a lot of video to help with this. So when I'm going through situations with customers at the start, I'll shoot videos just like this. So this camera is attached to my computer, so I'll send them personalized videos on their situation, run through numbers, run through their disclosures. So staying on top of making sure that they're set up really good at the start and when things really matter for them. And then when it comes down to collecting, clerical items and making sure that uh, we have what we need to get the loan done, that's when it's then passed off to a team member who has then been trained on the same type of customer experience that we want. But videos made a huge difference because I'm able to get that face to face at scale because I could sit down and do a lot of these and dig into their files, send them a personalized video, and then kind of go to the next. So throughout the process, my clients are getting that pretty consistently.
Yeah, I love that. Now, no, is there anything that's like automated video? Like, I've seen that actually in a lending process I was in one time where I bought a house, and under that specific lender, I was kind of getting videos along the way. Do you
Yeah,
do something like that that are more like kind of generic templated as well as doing some custom ones?
yeah, you got it. It's a mix of the two. So there's certain things that are going to be the same with every single loan. So certain benchmarks they hit, and those are automated videos that go out and kind of give an overview of like here's where you're at in the process, here's what you can expect. So it's kind of a mix between the two. If there's any time I can send a personal one, I definitely take advantage of that. But then there are those pre-filmed ones that we've got for everybody.
Love that, man. So
Yeah.
what? How did this all just like unfold where you're like, all right, I need to have it this intricate. I need to have this process all the way through. Is that something that you designed or you had mentors help you through? Who kind of helped you mold this model?
Yeah, it's super interesting because in lending, everybody kind of does things. There's a lot of ways to get loans done, right? And everybody kind of has their own. And mine's kind of been an accumulation of seeing how different loan officers run their teams, run their business. Through social media, I've actually been able to connect with a lot of high producing loan officers and be able to exchange like different tactics and approaches. So yeah, this was kind of my own system and process, but it's been like an accumulation of a lot of different people that do stuff I like.
I love that, man. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the marketing side of things. Like it always fascinates me how different sectors and verticals acquire business.
Mhm.
A lot of what Dippidi works with right now, where I'm at, it's a real estate marketing agency, but everybody's pretty much like I'd say 90% of our business is residential real estate teams and brokers.
Mhm.
But the mortgage vertical is so fascinating to me. And so, like, what are some practices and things that you see in your industry for a like lead generation like standpoint um, that people do?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different approaches, but typically for lending, our biggest referral sources are realtors, financial advisors, accountants. So we're going a lot of business to business rather than going consumer direct. So there's still an arm of like mailers and door knocking and the old fashioned way, but for lending, we focus more on getting referral partners rather than the direct consumers.
Gotcha.
So for me, it's been cool leveraging the social media video marketing to get both of that. So I do get some consumer direct through Instagram, and then I also get a lot of business relationships that I'm able to cater to and offer value to people and get their business and their referrals.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes total sense because you see it, a lot where in with residential real estate where they're generating leads direct to consumer. So like running Google ads to
Yeah.
try to see who's selling a home. But I've even seen where like they have a lender partner that
Hmm.
they end up, having either help with advertising budget or helping in some sort of way be a part of it all, right? Because it all
Yeah.
kind of funnels together if you have those referral partners.
Yeah, and we've done
Do
a lot of those types of things as well too. It's interesting with internet leads because you could get so many of them, but you got to vet all of them. So if you're
Mhm.
running these campaigns and you're just getting lead after lead, weeding through all of those can become a job in and of itself, is just funneling through these to try and find legitimate prospects. So it's cool because there's a lot of different funnels that you can use and ways of pre-vetting people, and this goes back to if you have a team, you have some guys that are just focusing on going through all these leads and trying to convert them. And there's some that are just way better than others where you're converting, one out of 100, and there's some where you're converting one out of 1,000.
Yep.
But yeah, that's kind of the nature of the business.
Do you see that a lot though in the mortgage industry at all where investing in like let's say Google ads
Yeah.
and putting money towards keyword bidding and doing it that way, or
Mhm.
we're in real estate like a lot of the people like on the agent side of things, they'll drive people to like homes for sale. They have the product itself
Right.
using the MLS, which is usually you're going to get cheaper traffic having the product itself.
Right.
What obstacles do lenders face with that? Because I feel like it would be a little bit more challenging not having a product to be able to necessarily sell outside of like the application process and refinancing things like that. So what do you feel like you see from a positioning standpoint that they use for Google ads and things like that?
Yeah, so a lot of, I mean, the Google ads, I don't know anyone who's doing that. There's one guy in town who's doing a really good job with like Yelp and Google ads, and he's got a big team vetting through it. It's something that I haven't personally dug into, just because again, the quality of lead that comes from it is harder to convert, and the time that I'm spending, creating content and videos and trying to build relationships, the level of lead is just a lot warmer where I'm getting them.
Yep.
So I haven't dedicated a ton of time to the other different forms of getting online leads. So I can't really
You
speak
gr-
to
Yeah, you grabbed
yeah.
your lower hanging fruit, which was creating videos and things like that. That made so much more sense for you to be able to kind of go into that realm
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, and I
Now,
think
what have you
through that
seen from that?
it's yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's been cool because I've had to kind of build my own funnels to take on these leads and these contacts and these connections. And by doing that, I'm doing a lot of the legwork that used to be done by running an ad, getting a phone call or an email that you're then trying to convert. Um, and through this, it's actually put me in a really good position, I think, to eventually start doubling down on ads and internet leads because I've been forced to have these systems in place that are going to funnel these leads for us. So I think
Can you
eventually
dive
that.
deeper on that? Like when you like how your funnel, like the funnel you've kind of created for yourself?
So for my process, I have through Instagram, they're going to the link in bio, which then drives them to where they should be. So this is joining a online community, which is a Facebook group that I have. So then you're nurturing these leads in there, and you're giving them kind of the information that they need to be able to get a house. So by the time they come to you, they already know they need to check these boxes of credit, income, assets. So then the quality of lead that comes out of there is good. And then also doing these consultation calls with someone on my team, another loan officer that I have. And it's a similar thing of, here's where you need to get. Are you here now? Great, you can do a deal. If not, like, we're gonna put you on a drip or a nurture list. So right now, that's kind of the funnels that I have going, is getting these leads and then putting them in, the now, later, much later kind of category.
Gotcha. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. So it's cool. I love it. I wanted to definitely get your mindset on marketing because you do it well,
Yeah.
especially with the video side of things. You're doing really well with it. But now I kind of want to get some advising, right? Like on real estate itself, and it's a little bit of the mortgage side of it. So
Cool.
um, I have a big fascination with like short term rentals. So that's
Okay.
kind of like my thing, and it's a trending topic.
Yep.
It definitely is.
Absolutely.
Have you seen like what's your perspective on like the short-term rental when it comes to investing? I know you're into personal finance and everything like that. Is there certain loans that make more sense for short-term rentals, and what are those?
So when you're going for short-term rentals, the loan guidelines haven't really adapted to that yet. So when you're running these performas and these numbers, when you go to qualify for your loan, it's still going to be based on long-term rental numbers, right? So if you're looking at, your mortgage is going to be 3 grand a month, and based on your short-term rental performa, you're looking at, having 4 grand a month, whatever coming in. When you go to buy the house, we're going to go off of long-term rental numbers, which may be 2,600. So that 26 isn't enough to cover the mortgage, right? So you're still going to have a little gap for income to qualify. Um, but it's something that you just kind of know ahead of time. Like, I'm going into this for short-term rental. I'm going to have to qualify it under the same guidelines as a long-term, and then just make sure that everything pencils out the way that you think it's
Yeah,
going to with the short-term.
yeah,
Yeah. But there
that
aren't a
make
ton of, like, as far as different products through a mortgage company. You kind of just have the same investment products that you do with long-term rental.
got you. Now I've
Yeah.
seen things where people do like, vacation rentals, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Hey, this is a home." Like I live in Florida.
Okay.
You're in Vegas area, right? So I
Yep.
may be like, "Hey, I'm interested in getting a vacation home in the Reno area.
Yep.
Uh, could I get a different product because it is a vacation home that I'm able to like rent out and then use it myself?" Like, is that a thing? I've seen that, so I'm not sure about it
Yeah.
all.
So, and that's a hard one, because as the guidelines are written, if you're buying it as a second home, it's not an income producing property. So the way the guidelines are written, if you are getting a property to rent out, then that is an investment property. Um, so I know there's a lot of content on ways to get around that, but
Yes.
from the compliant mortgage side, if it's making money, it has to be an investment property.
Good. I like to
Um,
hear the truth, man. I like to
yeah.
hear that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there are a ton of, like, there's hard money loans, there's private money loans, there's kind of a lot of different ways to get into the investment game. But yeah, from my side, that's kind of what I gotta say.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, and so what I like though is I actually saw a piece of content that you pushed out because a lot of people right now I think are heavily trying to figure out where to invest their money.
Mhm.
And something you put out I thought was really, really cool was you compared it to the stock market and like getting an 8% return.
Yeah.
And then you actually spun that by showing people like the best way to actually go about it is paying off their debts,
Yeah.
is if their debts are higher than what they
The
can
8%.
assume.
Yeah.
So what are some thoughts on like on that? Like, can you dive a little bit deeper on that and just kind of elaborate, I guess, while on this episode of what that looked like?
Yeah, so for that approach, because I think, for younger people, there's so much information out there about how to make money, but you kind of have to read between the lines and weed out the stuff that doesn't really apply to you. And honestly, it's funny with apps like Robinhood, with crypto being a low barrier to entry to be able to buy some of this stuff. There's a lot of people that have become kind of overnight investors, and what they're doing is they're trying to get a return that, I think, short term, right? Because last few years has been, it'd be hard to lose money if you're investing. Like I'd be very impressed if you lost because everything's gone up.
I've
So
seen it.
yeah, yeah, it's insane. And then so a lot of younger investors, they're looking at like, oh, you just make 30% a year if you invest, like that's fantastic.
Mhm.
But what I try to go back to, because this was something that I studied prior to getting in this and something that I've always loved is like long term, that's when you're looking at the average returns. And that's when you're getting to the 8%, not the 35, 40. I bought Bitcoin and it tripled. Those numbers aren't uh there's no long-term pattern for that. So a lot of these people are starting to invest thinking that, I'm going to make these ridiculous amounts of money because I'm going to invest $1,000 and turn it into 100 grand. In reality, you kind of have to run these numbers assuming historic returns. And when you do that, what you're investing into the stock market or anything that you're trying to get a return on is less than the return, less than what you're paying in interest on some of your debt. So that video is going into like if you're paying 11% interest on a debt and you're making 8%, like for all intents and purposes, 8% return is great, but you're hustling backwards.
Mhm.
So you're better off getting this stuff out of the way than investing because then the 8% is net 8 and you win.
Yeah, yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand that, like, they kind of they look for there's so much content out there, like you're saying, it's like almost
Mhm.
information overload and
Yeah.
there's a million ways to go about it, and so to be able to see, like, paying off debt isn't as sexy
Yeah.
as, getting 8% return on Amazon stock,
Yeah.
but it's ultimately still more return than you would have got.
Yeah, and it's weird because so much of the stuff I'm making is it isn't sexy, man. Like it's I'm talking about paying off, amounts of debt or putting away a few $100s a month in a saving or a few $100 into an investment account. And then you really just have to try and zoom out and look at the big picture. Like these little steps have a huge return.
Mhm.
But it's hard to articulate to people, which is kind of what has been cool about Reels is like, how can I make something that is very, very boring, and not cool? Because it's really cool this like, sell you on a pipe dream of making millions of dollars off $100. But the reality is like these are the tried and true and the proven ways of making money.
For centuries.
Yeah, and that's worked
Yeah.
for centuries. So, like, historically, it's worked. In the future, it's gonna work. Like, this is whether the market pulls back, goes sideways, whatever it is, like, this is what has worked in the past.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
I got on probably a year where I got in an obsession of some Dave Ramsey content,
there
right?
you
So it's
go.
like,
Yeah, you know it then.
oh, dude, yeah, I went in. I paid off I stopped eating. I was like, yeah, I went all in. I paid off everything I could pay off, and it was except for the mortgages, and then just
Yep.
kept investing. And that's been the model, right? Just invest, invest, invest. Because I eliminated that consumer debt, though, so
Yeah.
that I had to take the non-sexy route first
Yep.
to eliminate the consumer debt, to then go, and that's when it gets more fun, right? Because now
Yeah.
you can decide where you want to invest and put the money. But I think a lot of people right now, especially the youth, seeing a lot of this content, it feels like that get rich quick. And so I do worry. I do worry
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm like, man, they really got to learn the financial literacy side of things first
Yeah.
before just going all in on investing on Cardano only, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Dude, and that's the other problem that we're kinda combating is, like, there's a lot of people that take the anti-debt because Dave Ramsey, right, he swings one direction, and then you have people swinging the other, like, debt is great, use other people's money to make more money. Um, but the problem with it is, like, Dave's approach, which is very yeah, no debts, cut up your credit score, don't even have a credit score, like, that's an extreme view, but it works for 99% of people in the US. If you follow that, you're gonna be much, much better off. And then the other side of this swing is the people that are like, every dollar I use needs to be someone else's. Debt is great,
Hmm.
leverage it." And that applies to 0.0001%. Right? Like those people that know, like, okay, I'm going to take this money, collateralize it to get this return, collateralize it to get this. Like, there's a very specific person that applies to, but that information gets pumped out to the masses. So now
Hmm.
there is this like that video I made about paying off debt. The amount of people that are saying like debt is the way that wealth is made. Like, yes, every billionaire has leveraged large amounts of debt. Those are the billionaires. Like that's the 0.0001%. The millionaires did not do that. The
No.
one that's, so yeah, if you are starting a tech company and developing and acquiring massive land deals to do this, then sure. But when these, 18-year-olds are drowning themselves in debt because they don't understand that and think that debt is how they're gonna become a billionaire, it's a tough road for them.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I saw a podcast with Mark Cuban once where man, I don't want to say it wrong, but he was basically like, I think he was 25 years old or something when he got his first 100 grand. It was something fairly
Okay.
young. It was 100 grand.
Yeah.
And then he talks about getting up to 1 million and like when his company sold for $1 million. And they said, if we took away all your money again, could you become a billionaire again? And he's like, no way. Like becoming a millionaire again, I could do it. I know what it takes to become a millionaire, like the discipline.
Right.
He's like, but to become a billionaire is pure luck.
Yeah.
Like, and so, but so many people have this just because of the mass amounts of information getting pumped out, and they have this misconception, I think, that we're all going to be billionaires, even though it'd be
Yeah.
great, right? Like,
That would be
but
amazing. I love Mark for that because he always kinda has, like, I was at the right place at the right time. Like, I had a tech company during the dot-com boom, and I sold it, and I got like, if he started that 10 years sooner, 10 years later, he would not be a billionaire, and he's the first one to say that, which is cool 'cause, uh 'cause he doesn't make his money off of telling people that he's a billionaire, right? But then there's a lot of these people, the Cardones of the world that they make their money off of being that source of information. So then
yeah.
when they're telling you how they do it, it's like, man, this applies to a very, very, very small amount of people that
Hmm.
we all think we are in that 0.001% when we're all probably closer to the other
Right.
99%.
So yeah, so that I just had a episode with my buddy Charles Burgess, and we were talking about like the road to success is like the boring diet. It's
Yeah.
the it's the grilled chicken, the baked, the black beans and rice, and like that's
Yeah.
it. And find it, rinse and repeat, and keep going, and you will eventually have that financial freedom you're looking for, or that business that you're looking for. Like one step at a time was the way he kind of positioned it. Where a lot of people are trying to you ever try to climb a stair with 4 steps at a time, like, you're gonna
Yeah.
get tired all the way up,
Yeah.
and, so
Dude, those
it's
analogies, I love the working out and dieting ones because they're so similar in the sense of like, you wanna lose weight, step 1 would be to, like, eat less, right? Like, you wanna
mhm.
save more money, spend less. Like, it's that simple. But everybody wants, like, the one food or supplement that all of a sudden drops 80 pounds, or they want that one investment that gives them this, but, like, the grassroot of it, if you really wanna see an outcome, man, it's not rocket science.
Oh,
Like, the
dude, and that's what
information's there.
I actually hated about for my industry, like, with digital marketing is because you've seen it, like, there's the dudes on YouTube like, "Do you want a freaking Range Rover, dude?
Yeah.
Do you wanna live on the beach? Like, run Facebook ads."
Yeah,
It's like,
drop
"No, dude, this
shipping.
is" yeah, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, all this stuff, and it's like, I hate it because there's so much value in what we do at Dippidi, like as with Facebook advertising and Google advertising, but there is such a misconception of like the expectation of what it can really do and what really happens
Yeah.
when you invest in these things, that it is extremely challenging at times with some people that want to become clients or want to work with us. It's like, man, this is not a magic pill. This is not anything that's gonna make you a gazillionaire because you invested, 2 grand into Facebook or 2 grand into Google.
Yeah,
There's a process and work to be done after the fact.
right.
Um, which I love that you push out content like that. Like you're giving people ideas of how to save money. You're giving people ideas of how to invest money, even though you're not a financial advisor.
Yeah,
You're a mortgage loan officer giving additional value.
yeah.
So I love it. It's sick, man.
Dude, I'm curious too. What are going off of that with you guys? What's your biggest pushback that you get from realtors that don't understand? Because same thing we do. You're selling them on something that is tried and true. It's ROI positive, but they want the moon, right? Is that what you see in with Dippity?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's certain times, not it's not everybody, but like I get it. You invest your money, you want to get a return. Um, it's not always sexy knowing that you have to generate this lead and call it 10 times
Yeah,
in order for this to work. And
yeah,
so, a lot of the things out there just make it seem like there's a lot of processes where you can automate texts and automate emails, and
Yeah.
all of that goes out, and it's people are now using it as a crutch versus an assistant,
Right.
if you will, where like really the gold is in the calls. So it
Yep.
makes it really hard where to coach that and have people understand that like just investing in lead generation doesn't equal lead conversion. Like you also have to learn how to sell on the phone, how to serve on the phone. Really, that's what it boils
Yeah.
down to, is how to serve on the phone, because that's what you should be doing. Like how you obsess over client experience, that's exactly what it is if you
Mhm.
kept that obsession over client experience while you're calling these leads, it would happen so much more easily, like
Yeah.
authentically, to convert them.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. That's something too we've seen with like because now Neil and I have been helping other people create content, right? And it's to move the needle and to grow your business. Neil's seen tremendous success with this. I've seen a ton of success over the last couple of years. But I think people, again, to your point, just think it's this, okay, I make video, get views, and I'm rich. It's like, no, you do this, and then now you have to use that to then leverage relationships. Once you get relationships, convert to deals. Once you get deals, convert. So it's like yeah, I don't, it, I think it's just harder than people always think, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, people are looking for, like what you said, they're looking for the one product that fixes everything, not
yep,
really realizing like this is a part of the solution, not the solution.
right, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And for you guys, though, I'm sure you see it too, is the customers you really want are the ones that understand that.
Oh
I
yeah, it's
imagine
long
it.
term.
Yeah.
Long-term mindset is everything, and that's where it makes it challenging, I'm sure, on both ends. Like, you probably go through the same thing where in the mortgage industry, there is somewhat of a long-term mindset of like, "Hey, you can get the loan at this price." I think you posted something about this, like, where it's like, thinking of it from the long term about, being house broke, I think is the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
you
yeah.
you positioned it.
Yeah.
Talk deeper on that real quick, 'cause I love that piece of content.
Yeah, it's funny because we've talked about it a lot, and then I finally made a video on it because we talk about going house broke and like, man, this payment's so much, but it's like house broke, but when you're buying a house, like you're investing that money every month, right? Like you're forced to. You have to pay your mortgage every month to keep living, and just by chance, you're investing in real estate. Like your mortgage is a real estate investment. So if your house broke, that's kind of the best broke because you're not really broke. You know what
Yep.
I mean? So those people that like if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you get a house, you're still going to live paycheck to paycheck, but now you have a house that's an investment and it's going up. So that
Mhm.
was kind of this play on like, man, house broke's the best broke.
Yeah, no, it is
Yeah.
the best broke. Of being broke, it would be the best broke, right?
Yeah, you
Because
don't want to be broke period, but if you're going to be broke, that's a good broke.
yeah, I'll take that
Yeah.
broke. Yeah, for sure. Because think about it, if you were renting, the first bill you're usually gonna pay is your rent because you
Yep.
need the roof over your head.
Yep.
And then after you pay your rent, I don't know what you're gonna do with it outside of that. You could go open credit cards and go flex and like spend it all and
Yep.
shoes and clothes and all that. But if you take away that by investing it into your mortgage, I got it. I liked it. I'm sure
Yeah.
you probably got some criticism for that one because people are like, "What? You don't want to be house broke?" But
Yeah.
I got where you were going with it.
I love it, man. And that was the conversation we had so many times was this before I made the video of like, wait, house broke? No, you don't want to go house broke. But then when you go full circle of like, there are a lot of people, a ton of people that they spend whatever's left. So if you're taking more and that's going to and that's why we have, Social Security, 401k, all those things come out before it even goes into your paycheck because otherwise no one would save and no one would invest. Um, so if you're doing that, that's the same. Like, yeah, pay my living expense first and then I evaluate the rest of the situation. So let's grow the living expense and let's make that go into something that's going to make you money. Now you're still broke, but you're not broke. You're just
Broke.
yeah.
Yeah, you're just house broke.
You're
Yeah,
just
I
house
love
broke.
it, dude.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
for people that are renters and they're wanting to become like a first time home buyer, I know that you've done content around like tricks about how to save. Like,
Mhm.
because a lot of people they suck at saving
Yeah.
money, dude.
Yeah.
They suck at saving money. So, like, what are some ways that those tricks that you feel like are ways that you can save money for that first down payment when you suck at saving money?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that it goes back to, like, when you see the money, it's gone. So for me, I think that there's a few that are really cool to start implementing. One is just that automatic direct deposit into a different account. So if you're a lot of payroll apps will actually let you do this in the app. So like ADP, Intuit, whatever payroll service, you can have a portion of your income go into a different account direct deposit. So if you can set that up, that's great because you're taxing yourself before it gets in your hands. And then all of a sudden you don't even know it, and that account's been growing. So that's one tactic that I think is great for people because they don't have the opportunity of spending it. Because it's hard once you get the money to then put it away. Like we wanna go do something with it. So that one's one of my favorite. And then the other one that I made a video on this, but I think it's a really cool thing to do because it helps with a few things. Is if you're renting and you want a mortgage, when you're paying your rent, put a big chunk towards into a savings account, but try to acclimate towards what this mortgage payment would be. So the one I had an example was like if your rent's 1,500 and you think you'd be okay with a $2,000 mortgage, on the day that rent's due, pay 1,500 to your landlord, put 500 in another bank account. Now you're simultaneously like saving money and you're seeing what your life would be like with a $2,000 outflow.
Yep,
So
and
that's
man, you don't
another.
have to do that for forever, right? Like
Yeah.
people have to realize it's a short term pain, and if you can get yourself acclimated to a 2 grand a month loan,
Yep.
then whenever it comes time to actually get a mortgage, it could be $1,400 a month. It could be
Yeah.
$1,300 a month because
Yep.
chances are it's going to be lower than rent rate if you were to go to a similar lifestyle that you
Yeah.
were already renting in.
Yep.
And there you go. Now you got $700 cash flow that you didn't know you could have because you just changed that discipline a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, and it's cool too because once you get into a property, like with rent, rent adjusts the same way your income does. So ideally, your income goes up a little bit every year, indefinitely, right? So does your rent. With a mortgage, like it doesn't do that. It stays the same for 30 years. So when people finally like, okay, I've adjusted to this outflow of say 2 grand a month, they get their mortgage is 2 grand a month. When they get a little raise, like their lifestyle got better. Every
mhm,
year their lifestyle gets a lot better because that $2,000 mortgage is still $2,000.
mhm.
So it is a cool
Here's a
like.
cool and if you're a renter, here's a cool way to go about it too is like tell me I know this could be completely stupid. I kind of just came up with it. But
Yeah, yeah.
like you get your mortgage, let's say at $1,200, right? And you're used to a $1,500 rent and you know your rent's going to go up each year. You're already acclimated to that if you've been renting your entire life. You know
Mhm.
it, your rent goes up and your income goes up, but you lock in a mortgage, keep that same mindset and look at what rental rates are and then just pay that
Yep.
additional to your principal.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even know what that number would look like of how quickly it would end up paying off if you just followed rent rates.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I just did one where it was $300 a month over your mortgage, and it's 7 years it trims off of your 30-year mortgage, which is a big chunk, and it saves you, tens of thousands of dollars in interest. And but that same approach, which is kind of like the debt snowball approach of like, okay, my outflows are this. Once you pay off a debt, continue paying what you're paying there to the next one, to the next one. And then when you get done, you're like, man, I was paying $700 a month towards these debts that are now gone. Don't now let that 700 be an inflow. Have that now going into an investment account or overpaying your mortgage
mhm.
or something else. Cause it's crazy how quickly we acclimate to whatever our income is. Like,
Yeah.
you adjust
Oh,
very, very fast. So if you rob yourself of $700, you'll see, like, you just figure it out, and it's okay, you
yeah.
know?
See, I get obsessive. I'm probably like OCD. I use Mint. Have you ever heard of Mint?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I use it for the business. I use it for multiple businesses, and then I use it for personal as well. So I kind of like actually like snowball all my budgets all down to my personal eventually.
I love it.
But I mean, it's obsessive to the point where I know every single month at the end of the month how much money do I have to just invest
Yep,
because all the other debts that I want to pay off are paid off, right? Like,
yep.
do I want to chunk at the principal? Do I want to buy some crypto? Do I want to,
Yeah,
save up for a investment property, reinvest it in the business? Like,
yep,
there's just so many different ways you can spin it when you know that number, and
yeah.
that's what I mean. That's when it gets really fun.
Dude, and I think it's so again, back to, like, working out, it is that you just have to start, and then once you do, you start seeing returns, and once you see results and returns, that's when it like stimulates you to keep doing it. So if you
Mhm.
haven't started the process, like it's that fictional idea of what it could be, just like working out. Like I know I could get in better shape and look better and feel better, but I went and did 10 push-ups the other day and it didn't do anything. So I just stopped. It's like, well, let's stick
Mhm.
to it. Do it and then you'll see results. And once you see results, and that's where people could get like borderline obsessive with their health because they
Yeah.
know the result. Like I feel amazing. I don't want to go back to how I felt, you know?
Yeah, next thing you know, like, I'm at the show, like, all sprayed up, and I got my,
Exactly. Yeah, that's
yeah,
how it
dude,
goes.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
kid in high
exactly.
school, all of a sudden starts lifting and then he's just doing shows every weekend.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, "Dude," I mean, he because he saw the result and he got obsessed, and
Feels
yeah,
good.
that's what happens. Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels good. Exactly, man. Dude, I appreciate you jumping on,
Absolutely.
man. It's been fun.
Yeah, this has been a blast, man. I enjoyed it.
No, thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward to staying connected and, hopefully meeting up, man, down at an event or something, maybe with Neil, Connor, somewhere. Who
Yeah,
knows?
absolutely. Neil's actually got one coming in on July 22nd down in Vegas as like Gary V's gonna be there, Ed
I
Milet.
saw that.
It's a pretty beastly lineup, so maybe I'll
Yeah,
catch
wait,
you at
hold
that
on.
one.
There's Gary, Ed Milet. Who
Gary,
else
Ed
is going?
Milet, Cole Hatter, Bradley, Neil speaking, Albert Preciado. Yeah, it's a lineup, man, and I'm watching how much work he's putting into what this actual show is gonna look like, and it's pretty unreal because 'cause we've been to a lot of these, and we're basically taking the best from everything and removing all the stuff of, like, the awkward, moments in between speakers, like, all those things are gone, so it's gonna be a pretty killer show.
Neil's on his Kanye shit right now. He's
Yeah,
like, "No,
no.
this is gonna be dialed in."
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
gonna be something, man, but yeah, hopefully I see you there somewhere in the
Yeah,
future,
that
it'll
would
be
be
fun.
sick, man. That's July. Do you know the date exactly?
July 22nd at Resorts World in Vegas.
Love it. I mean, you can't yank my arm to come to Vegas. So,
Yeah. Yeah, with that lineup, man, that's tough to beat.
yeah, I'm excited
Awesome,
for it.
bro.
I appreciate you, Trevor.
Awesome, man. I'll talk to you soon.